All right, we're here at Island Sailing. I want to do a quick orientation on our Cal 27. We've got new north sails on this boat. Boat handles and sails really nice. Wheel, diesel, really fun boat to sail.
Rolling.
So we're looking at the panel on the Cal 27. Of course, you got your basic battery selector. It's to off. We're going to go to battery 2 to start. Standard switches and everything. Got a battery tester there, so you can test your batteries, see that you got good power in your batteries. Battery charger, of course, is on because the boat's plugged in here at the dock. I want to make sure that we're leaving it charging when we leave at the end of the night. We want to make sure all of our DC switches are off and that our battery selector is to off. And when you look over here at the fuel gauge, you'll see, oh, until we turn our ignition panel on, we won't see the fuel gauge. The fuel gauge is powered by the ignition panel. Key is in the drawer here, so when we turn our ignition panel on, we'll see our fuel level. The other thing I want to point out is our bilge switch, and very important, I'm going to turn the battery selector off, and I'm going to test that. Yes, we have power to our bilge pump without the battery selector being on, and that also is our reminder to make sure it's always on auto. We want to check that before we leave the boat, and we want to know that that's going to work when we're out sailing if we need it. All right, we're at the helm on the Cal 27. One of the things on any wheel boat, you always want to get yourself familiar with the range of turn that wheel has. This one's about 3/4 full turn, so there's dead center rudder. You always want to know where your rudder is. And then I'm going to go as far as I can go to starboard. Okay, it's about 3/4 back, and then I'm going to go the other way. I'm always going to get familiar. Bigger wheels, you know, it's going to be very different. Smaller wheels, you're going to have more turns. The other thing you'll notice is I'm using a spoke because that's how, when we're maneuvering, we're not doing it, you know, we're using spokes. When we maneuver, we need to go full port to full starboard, etc. So that familiarizes us with the wheel. Now the controls on the Cal 27 here are kind of nice. It's a single lever control. We want to pull that out and then we can engage fuel without having it in gear. So very important, we don't just fuel up like that. Hear those clicks? That's the detent. We want to pull that out. That's why those notches are there, and give it some fuel when we're going to start this engine up. It's a single cylinder, no glow plugs. So we want to give this a lot of fuel when we're getting ready to start this engine. On the ignition panel here, you want to please be careful with the keys. Don't force them. You got to gently feel if it's teeth up or teeth down. That one's teeth up. We're going to supply power to our ignition panel. Oh, I think we forgot to turn the battery selector back on. You can put it to battery 2, if you would, please, Chris. Thank you. There we go. Now, this boat has a glow plug light, but it doesn't actually have a glow plug. So there's no need to hold the glow plug switch. We've given it a full fuel. We're going to be ready to throttle back right away as soon as it kicks. And it's a push button start. There we go. And then, of course, the quintessential habit, we're going to stare over the stern and we're going to watch the cooling water for a little while. Don't just glance, because the first water you see is what was left in the system before. So you want to make sure you're actually getting good cooling water. And at this point, we should have fresh water, and we do. We're getting good cooling flow. We can throttle back. And this is, again, a single lever control for forward, neutral, reverse, pretty straightforward there. Newly rebuilt transmission on this boat, so do be gentle, like on any boat, of course. And that's the starting and running procedures for the Cal 27. All right, to shut the engine down, of course, very straightforward. Fuel shut off right here. Just pull gently, you don't have to yank hard on it. And then, of course, we're going to turn the power off to our panel. And then down below decks, if we were putting the boat away, batteries would go to off, all DC switches off, and we would want to leave our battery charger circuit breaker on, and then we would test our bilge pump again before we leave the boat to make sure it has power and make sure it's on auto.